Enjoy the cash, sweetheart. It's all fake.
If I'd known my marriage would end with a text message and a counterfeit heist, I'd have spent less time recycling Coke cans and more time prepping for war. But hindsight's 2020. And back then, I was just Harry Ellis, 39 years old, managing the local Coca-Cola bottling plant in our sprawling state capital, thinking my biggest problem was whether Tyler would pass algebra and if Jenny needed braces. The morning everything went to heck started like any other Tuesday. Amanda was at the kitchen counter, phone pressed to her ear, whispering to Michelle again. These girls' nights had become a regular thing over the past 6 months, ever since Michelle's messy divorce from her investment banker husband. No, Jake said he'd handle the Miami arrangements, Amanda was saying, her back turned to me as I poured coffee into my thermos. The penthouse has a view of the ocean, and he knows people at all the best clubs. Jake. That name had been popping up more frequently lately. Jake Sanderson, the city's newest golden boy, running some wellness business that seemed to involve a lot of late-night networking and expensive champagne. The kind of guy who bought rounds for the whole bar and had a different story about how he made his money depending on who was asking. Morning, beautiful, I said, kissing Amanda's cheek. She flinched slightly, pulling away from the phone. Oh, hey, honey, Michelle and I were just planning another weekend trip. You know how much I need these breaks. Breaks from what? I wondered. Our comfortable suburban life? The kids who adored her? Me working 60-hour weeks to keep us comfortable while she found herself at 36? Daddy, can you help me with my science project? Jenny appeared at my elbow, her 9-year-old face scrunched with concentration. I need to make a volcano that actually erupts. Sure, sweetheart, we'll hit the hardware store this weekend. I ruffled her blonde hair, noting how Amanda barely acknowledged our daughter's presence. Tyler slouched into the kitchen, all 14-year-old attitude and bedhead. Mom, I need lunch money, and can you sign this permission slip for the field trip? Amanda waved him off without looking up from her phone. Ask your father. I'm busy. The kid shot me a look that was way too knowing for someone his age. Come on, Dad. Let's get this handled. As I signed the permission slip and handed Tyler a 20, I caught him watching Amanda with the same wariness I'd been feeling lately. Kids notice everything, even when you think they don't. After the kids left for school and Amanda disappeared upstairs for her yoga session, which seemed to involve a lot more phone calls than actual stretching, I sat in my home office staring at our safe. It was a wedding gift from Amanda's parents, the Baileys, along with a lecture about financial responsibility that was really code for we don't trust your blue-collar husband with our daughter's trust fund. The safe contained our emergency cash, important documents, and a little insurance policy I'd set up months ago when Amanda's behavior started getting weird. See, I've always been paranoid about money. Comes from growing up poor. So when Amanda started making mysterious withdrawals and talking about investments with Jake, I got creative. I'd replaced half our emergency cash with the most beautiful counterfeit bills you've ever seen. Not because I planned to spend them, heck no, that's federal prison territory, but because I had a feeling Amanda might try something stupid, and I wanted to be ready. The counterfeits were so good they'd pass casual inspection, but the moment someone tried to deposit them or run them through any serious verification, they'd light up like a Christmas tree. Call it a prank with teeth. My phone buzzed with a text from Phil, my boss at the plant. Board meeting moved to 2 p.m. Wear the good tie. I laughed despite my mood. Phil was old school Coca-Cola, worked his way up from delivery driver to regional supervisor over 30 years. He knew I only owned 2 ties, and the good one was the one without stains. The bottling plant was my sanctuary. The rhythmic clank of machinery, the hiss of carbonation, the sweet smell of syrup mixing with water. It was honest work that produced something people actually wanted. Not like Jake's mysterious wellness empire or Amanda's sudden interest in consulting. Harry, you look like someone pissed in your Coke, Phil said when I walked into his office. Everything okay at home? Phil was one of the few people who knew Amanda's family looked down on my job. They'd made it clear at every holiday gathering that their daughter had married beneath her station. Just the usual domestic bliss, I said. What's this board meeting about? Cost-cutting measures. They want to streamline operations, maybe consolidate some positions. Phil's weathered face was grim. Don't worry, your job's safe. You're the best plant manager we've had in years, but keep your ears open. The meeting was typical corporate nonsense suits from Atlanta talking about optimizing efficiency and maximizing shareholder value. I sat through 2 hours of PowerPoint presentations while my phone buzzed with increasingly frantic texts from Amanda. Need to talk when you get home. It's important. Where are you? By the time I pulled into our driveway at 6:30, Amanda's BMW was gone. Tyler was playing basketball in the driveway, and Jenny was sitting on the front steps with a book. Where's Mom? I asked. Tyler bounced the ball hard against the garage door. She left about an hour ago, packed 2 suitcases and kept checking her phone. Said she'd call later. Jenny looked up from her book. Something about wizards and dragons. She was crying, Daddy, but not sad crying. Excited crying. Kids, they see everything. Inside, I found the safe hanging open like a mouth, empty. Every bill gone, along with Amanda's passport and jewelry. But she'd left the important documents, birth certificates, insurance policies, the deed to the house. Either she was in a hurry, or she wasn't planning to disappear forever. My phone chimed with a text message that chilled me to the bone and made me smile at the same time. Cleaned out the safe, starting fresh with Jake. Don't try to find us. This is for the best. Amanda. I stared at the message for a long moment, then typed back. Enjoy the cash. What I didn't tell her was that she'd just stolen $30,000 in beautiful, perfect, completely worthless counterfeit bills. Jake Sanderson, wellness guru and smooth talker, was about to get a very expensive lesson in trust. I walked upstairs to check Amanda's closet. Half her clothes were gone, along with her expensive handbags and the diamond earrings her mother had given her for our 10th anniversary. She'd left behind her wedding ring, sitting on the bathroom counter like an accusation. Dad? Tyler appeared in the doorway, Jenny right behind him. Is Mom coming back? I looked at my kids, Tyler trying to act tough but clearly scared, Jenny clutching her book like a shield, and felt something harden in my chest, not just anger, but cold determination. I don't know, buddy, but whatever happens, we're going to be okay. Tyler nodded, but I could see the doubt in his eyes. Jenny just hugged my leg tighter. Can we order pizza? She asked in a small voice. Absolutely. Extra cheese, pepperoni, and those little peppers you like. As I called for pizza, I was already planning my next moves. Amanda thought she was so clever, running off with her boy toy and our life savings. She had no idea what she'd actually taken or what was coming for her. But she was about to find out. The next morning brought 2 things: a hangover from the bottle of bourbon I'd shared with my thoughts the night before, and a phone call from Michelle that changed everything. Harry, oh God, Harry, you need to know what's happening. Michelle's voice was slurred, panicked. I'm so sorry, I never thought it would go this far. I was making coffee in my eerily quiet kitchen, the kids already off to school. What are you talking about, Michelle? The money. Amanda and Jake, they went crazy last night. Hit 3 different casinos, bought everyone drinks. Jake was throwing hundreds around like confetti. Amanda kept laughing about how she'd finally gotten free from her boring life. My hand tightened on the phone. How much did they spend? All of it, Harry. Every last dollar, but that's not the worst part. Michelle's voice dropped to a whisper. Jake's got connections, not the legal kind. They were talking about laundering money through his wellness centers, using Amanda's trust fund as seed money for some kind of gambling operation. I almost laughed, almost. Where are they now? The penthouse. Jake's place downtown. Harry, I think they're in real trouble. Some guys in suits showed up at the casino around midnight asking questions about the bills Amanda was using. They looked like federal agents. Federal agents. My beautiful counterfeit bills had done exactly what I'd hoped they'd do. Michelle, I need you to listen carefully. You need to distance yourself from this situation right now. Don't answer any more calls from Amanda. Don't go to that penthouse. And if anyone asks, you don't know anything about their money. But Harry, no buts. Trust me on this. I hung up and immediately called my lawyer, David Chen, a sharp guy who'd helped me set up my will and handle some contract disputes with suppliers. David, I need some advice. Hypothetically, if someone stole money from me and it turned out to be counterfeit, what kind of legal trouble would they be in? There was a pause. Harry, please tell me this is actually hypothetical. Let's just say I believe in being prepared for all possibilities. Well, hypothetically, passing counterfeit currency is a federal crime. The Secret Service handles those cases, and they don't mess around. If someone unknowingly passed fake bills, they might get some leniency. But if there's evidence of intent or if they're involved in other criminal activity, he whistled low. We're talking serious federal prison time. And what about the person who originally had the counterfeit bills? If they can prove they were victims of theft and had no knowledge the bills were fake, they'd likely be clear. But Harry, if you're sitting on counterfeit money, you need to turn it in immediately, of course. Thanks, David. I hung up feeling better than I had in months. Amanda had stolen from me, abandoned our children, and run off with a criminal. Now she was about to learn that actions have consequences. My phone rang. Amanda. Harry, we need to talk. Her voice was tight, scared. Do we? Because your text yesterday seemed pretty final. There's been a misunderstanding. About the money. Some of it might be problematic. Problematic how? Just, can you meet me somewhere? Neutral ground, I'll explain everything. I almost said yes. Almost fell back into the pattern of cleaning up Amanda's messes and protecting her from the consequences of her choices. Then I thought about Tyler's face last night, the way Jenny had clung to my leg. No, Amanda, you made your choice. Deal with the consequences. Harry, please. Jake says if we can't fix this, we're both going to prison. Then you better hope Jake's as smart as he thinks he is. I hung up and turned off my phone. The rest of the day passed in a blur of routine work, picking up the kids, helping with homework, making dinner. I was tucking Jenny into bed when Tyler appeared in the doorway. Dad, there are some guys outside in a black car. I looked out Jenny's window and saw them, 2 men in dark suits, sitting in an unmarked sedan across the street. Federal agents, just like Michelle had described. Stay with your sister, I told Tyler. Don't answer the door for anyone but me. The doorbell rang as I reached the living room. I took a deep breath, checked my appearance in the hallway mirror, and opened the door. Mr. Ellis, I'm Agent Rodriguez. This is Agent Martinez, Secret Service. We'd like to ask you a few questions about some currency that was passed at several establishments last night. I invited them in, offered coffee, acted like a concerned citizen, because that's exactly what I was. We understand your wife has been spending money from your household accounts, Agent Rodriguez said, settling into my couch like he belonged there. Can you tell us about the cash you kept in your home safe? Emergency fund, about $30,000 in various bills. I kept it for peace of mind, in case of natural disasters or bank failures. When did you last see this money? Yesterday morning before work. When I got home, the safe was empty and my wife was gone. Agent Martinez leaned forward. Mr. Ellis, some of the bills your wife used last night were counterfeit. Very high quality, but definitely fake. I let my face show shock, confusion, then anger. Are you telling me my wife stole fake money from our safe? How is that possible? That's what we're trying to figure out. Do you have any idea where this money might have come from? I thought about it, playing the part of a confused husband. Amanda handles most of our finances. She comes from money. Her parents are always giving her cash gifts, inheritance, advances, that sort of thing. I just assumed it was all legitimate. The agents exchanged glances. We'll need to speak with your wife. Good luck with that. She's holed up in some penthouse with her boyfriend, spending my money and apparently ruining my credit. I let real bitterness creep into my voice. If she's mixed up in something illegal, that's on her. I'm just trying to take care of my kids. They asked a few more questions, took down contact information, and left. Through the window, I watched them drive away, probably heading straight for Jake's penthouse. Tyler came downstairs after they were gone. Were those cops? Federal agents? Your mom's gotten herself into some trouble? Is she coming home? I looked at my son. Too smart for his own good, old enough to understand that our family was falling apart. I don't think so, buddy, but that might not be such a bad thing. He nodded, processing this. Dad, I heard Mom on the phone last week. She was talking to someone about taking money from your business. Something about showing your boss that you couldn't be trusted. A chill ran through me. What exactly did you hear? She said if she could make it look like you were stealing from work, she could get a better divorce settlement, that her lawyer said it would help with custody. Amanda hadn't just stolen our emergency money and run off with Jake. She'd been planning to destroy my career, my reputation, everything I'd worked for. The counterfeits weren't just going to bite her. They might have saved my entire life. I hugged Tyler tight. Thank you for telling me. That was very brave. Are we going to be okay, Dad? I thought about Amanda and Jake, probably sitting in that penthouse right now while federal agents pounded on the door. I thought about the look on Amanda's face when she realized what she'd actually stolen. I thought about her parents having to bail their precious daughter out of federal prison. Yes, son, we're going to be just fine. The call came at 6 a.m, 3 days later. Amanda sobbing. Harry, please, I'm at the county jail. Jake's in federal custody and I need bail money. I was already awake, making coffee and checking the news on my phone. The story was buried on page 3 of the local section. Local businessman arrested in counterfeiting investigation. Jake's wellness empire was apparently a front for money laundering, and the counterfeit bills had led investigators straight to his operation. How much? I asked, though I had no intention of helping. 50,000. My parents won't take my calls, and my lawyer says if I can't make bail, I'll be stuck here for months waiting for trial. Maybe you should have thought about that before you cleaned out our safe. Harry, I made a mistake, a huge mistake, but I'm still the mother of your children. That was the wrong thing to say. Really? Because when Tyler needed help with his science project and Jenny wanted someone to read her bedtime stories, where were you? Oh, right, planning your great escape with your criminal boyfriend. It wasn't supposed to happen like this. Jake said he had everything under control. Jake's a con artist and completely dependent on pills, Amanda. Half the city knows it. The only person who didn't was you. I could hear her crying, and for a moment I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. The kids need their mother, she whispered. The kids need stability. They need a parent who puts them first instead of chasing after the next exciting thing. I want to see them. Talk to your lawyer about visitation. If you get out... I hung up and immediately called David Chen. I need to file for emergency custody, I told him, and I want to start divorce proceedings immediately. Harry, slow down. What's happened? I filled him in on the arrests, the federal investigation, Amanda's phone call. David whistled low. This changes everything. With Amanda facing federal charges, getting full custody shouldn't be difficult. But are you sure you want to move this fast? David, my wife stole our life savings, abandoned our children, and got involved with criminals. How much slower should I move? Point taken. I'll have the papers ready by this afternoon. The next few weeks were a blur of legal meetings, court appearances, and trying to keep the kids' lives as normal as possible. Amanda made bail eventually. Her parents finally caved and mortgaged their house. But the damage was done. The custody hearing was almost anticlimactic. Amanda showed up looking hollow-eyed and desperate, her expensive clothes wrinkled, her hair unwashed. Her lawyer, a public defender who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else, made a half-hearted argument about temporary insanity and the importance of maternal bonds. Judge Patricia Williams wasn't buying it. Mrs. Ellis, you abandoned your children to pursue a relationship with a man who's now facing federal charges for money laundering and counterfeiting. You stole your family's emergency funds and spent them on gambling and alcohol. Can you explain to me why I should allow you unsupervised access to these children? Amanda's voice was barely a whisper. I made mistakes, but I love my children. Love isn't enough, Mrs. Ellis. Children need stability, security, and parents who put their welfare first. Judge Williams looked at her over her glasses. I'm awarding temporary full custody to Mr. Ellis, with supervised visitation for you pending the resolution of your criminal case. Amanda collapsed into her chair, sobbing. Her parents, sitting in the back row, looked like they'd aged 10 years in a month. Outside the courthouse, Amanda's mother cornered me. This is all your fault, Patricia Bailey hissed. If you'd been a better husband, a better provider, Amanda never would have looked elsewhere. I stared at this woman who'd spent 15 years making it clear I wasn't good enough for her daughter. Mrs. Bailey, your daughter stole $30,000 and ran off with a criminal, but somehow that's my fault. Amanda was unhappy. She needed more than you could give her. What she needed was to grow up and take responsibility for her choices. Instead, you and your husband spent 20 years telling her she was special and deserved everything handed to her on a silver platter. Patricia's face went red. How dare you? How dare I what? Tell the truth? Your daughter is facing federal prison time because she thought she could take whatever she wanted without consequences. That's not my fault. That's yours. I walked away, leaving her sputtering on the courthouse steps. Tyler was waiting in the car, having insisted on coming to the hearing. How'd it go, Dad? We won. You and Jenny are staying with me. He nodded, trying to look mature, but I could see the relief in his eyes. Is Mom going to prison? I don't know. Maybe. Probably. Good, he said quietly, then looked shocked at his own words. Is that terrible? To be glad your own mother might go to prison? I pulled him into a hug. Tyler, your mother made choices that hurt our family. It's okay to be angry about that. It's okay to want her to face consequences. I just want things to be normal again. They will be. Different than before, but normal. That night, after Jenny was asleep and Tyler was doing homework, I sat in my home office and opened a bottle of beer. On my desk was a folder full of legal documents, custody orders, divorce papers, financial statements. Amanda had tried to destroy our family for a fantasy, and instead she'd lost everything. My phone buzzed with a text from Michelle. Heard about the custody hearing. I'm sorry about everything. Amanda's staying with me until her trial. She's not doing well. I typed back, that's not my problem anymore. But even as I sent the message, I felt a pang of something, not quite guilt, but maybe sadness for what we'd all lost. Amanda and I had been happy once, or at least I'd thought we were. We'd built a life together, had children together, made plans for the future. Now she was facing federal charges. Her parents had mortgaged their house to pay her legal fees, and our kids were asking why mommy didn't love them enough to stay. The counterfeits had worked better than I'd ever imagined. Amanda hadn't just stolen worthless paper, she'd stolen her own future. My computer chimed with an email from Phil. Board meeting tomorrow, good news to share. I closed the legal folder and opened my laptop. Whatever tomorrow brought, Tyler and Jenny and I would face it together. Amanda had made her choice. Now she could live with it. The board meeting the next morning was everything Phil had promised. Not only was my job safe, but they were promoting me to regional supervisor, Phil's old position. He was finally retiring to fish and spoil his grandchildren. Congratulations, Harry, said Janet Morrison, the regional vice president. Your plant has the highest efficiency ratings in the Southeast, and your team loyalty scores are off the charts. This promotion comes with a 40% salary increase and a company car. I shook hands around the conference table, accepting congratulations from executives who'd never bothered to learn my name before. The irony wasn't lost on me. On the same day I was getting divorced from a woman who thought I'd never amount to anything, I was getting the biggest promotion of my career. There is one thing, Janet added as the meeting broke up. The promotion comes with some travel requirements. You'll be overseeing 6 plants across 3 states. Will that be a problem with your family situation? Actually, it's perfect timing, I said. My kids and I could use a fresh start. Driving home in my new company car, a silver Chevy Tahoe that was worth more than Amanda's BMW, I felt something I hadn't experienced in years, genuine optimism about the future. Tyler and Jenny were waiting on the front porch when I pulled into the driveway. Jenny ran to the car, eyes wide. Daddy, is this ours? It's mine from work. I got promoted today. Tyler whistled appreciatively. This is way cooler than Mom's car. We celebrated with dinner at the fancy steakhouse downtown, the one Amanda had always said was too expensive for a Tuesday night. Tyler ordered the biggest steak on the menu. Jenny got shrimp that was bigger than her fist, and I had the best bourbon they carried. So, what does this promotion mean? Tyler asked, cutting into his steak with the concentration of a surgeon. More money, more responsibility, and we get to travel some. I'll be overseeing plants in Tennessee, North Carolina, and South Carolina, too. Will we move? Jenny looked worried. Eventually, probably. Would that bother you? The kids exchanged glances. Tyler spoke first. Dad, can I be honest? I'd kind of like to go somewhere where people don't know about Mom and all the stuff that happened. Jenny nodded emphatically. The kids at school keep asking where Mommy is and why she's not at school events anymore. It's embarrassing. My heart broke a little. 9 years old, and she was already dealing with the social fallout of her mother's choices. We'll see what opportunities come up, I promised. But wherever we go together. The next few months fell into a comfortable routine. I threw myself into the new job, traveling to different plants, implementing efficiency improvements, building relationships with my new team. The kids thrived with the stability. Tyler's grades improved dramatically, and Jenny joined the school's advanced reading program. Amanda's trial was scheduled for the fall. According to David, she was looking at 3 to 5 years in federal prison, though her lawyer was pushing for a plea deal that might reduce it to 18 months plus probation. She wants to see the kids, David told me during one of our regular check-ins. Her lawyer thinks it might help with sentencing if she can show she's maintaining family relationships. Absolutely not, I said. She's had supervised visitation rights for 6 months and hasn't used them once. She doesn't get to play the devoted mother card now. Harry, I have to advise you that complete denial of access could backfire. Courts don't like it when one parent completely cuts off the other. Fine. She can see them under supervision at the family court building. 2 hours once a month with a social worker present, and only if she's been clean and sober for at least 30 days. David nodded. That's reasonable. I'll draft the terms. Amanda never took us up on the offer, according to Michelle, who still texted me updates despite my lack of interest. Amanda was drinking heavily and had moved back in with her parents after being evicted from her apartment. The Bailey's house was in foreclosure. They'd borrowed against it to pay Amanda's bail and legal fees, and Patricia's art gallery had closed after their wealthy friends distanced themselves from the family scandal. Richard Bailey, who'd spent years lecturing me about financial responsibility, was working as a sales associate at a furniture store. I should have felt sorry for them. Instead, I felt a cold satisfaction that justice was being served. It was Tyler who brought up the subject of revenge. We were working on his science project, the volcano that had been interrupted by Amanda's departure months earlier. As we mixed vinegar and baking soda for the eruption, he looked up at me with those two wise eyes. Dad, are you ever going to get Mom back for what she did? I stopped stirring the mixture. What do you mean? I mean, she really hurt us. She hurt you, she hurt me and Jenny. She hurt Grandma and Grandpa Bailey, even though they're kind of jerks. And it seems like she's just going to go to prison, and that's it. Tyler, your mother is facing federal charges. She's lost her family, her home, her reputation. What more punishment do you think she needs? He considered this seriously. I don't know. It just seems like she should have to really understand what she did to us. Like, prison is just sitting in a room, but she should have to feel as bad as she made us feel. Out of the mouths of babes. That night, after the kids were asleep, I sat in my office and really thought about it for the first time. Amanda was going to prison, yes, but she'd be out in a couple of years. She'd rebuild her life, maybe write a book about her journey and lessons learned. She'd find some way to make herself the victim in the story. Meanwhile, Tyler was seeing a counselor to deal with abandonment issues. Jenny had nightmares about me disappearing too. Our family had been shattered by Amanda's selfishness, and she was getting off with a slap on the wrist and 3 square meals a day. Maybe Tyler was right. Maybe Amanda needed to really understand the consequences of her choices. I opened my laptop and started researching. By morning, I had a plan. The plan took 3 months to execute, and it was beautiful in its simplicity. First, I hired a private investigator, a retired police detective named Sarah Kim, who specialized in financial crimes. Her job was to dig into Jake's business dealings and find out exactly how deep the money laundering operation went. What she found was even better than I'd hoped. Jake hadn't just been laundering money through his wellness centers. He'd been running a full-scale fraud operation, selling fake investment opportunities to wealthy retirees. The counterfeit bills had been the least of his crimes. More importantly, Sarah discovered that Amanda hadn't been just a victim of Jake's manipulation. She'd been an active participant, using her trust fund connections to bring in new marks for Jake's schemes. My wife hadn't just cheated on me and stolen our money. She'd been running cons on her own friends and family. Harry, this information could significantly impact her sentencing, David said when I showed him Sarah's report. If the prosecutors knew about her active participation in the fraud scheme, they're going to know, I said, but not from me directly. Step 2 was elegant. I had Sarah package all the evidence into an anonymous tip to the FBI, complete with bank records, recorded phone calls, and testimony from Jake's victims. The tip was untraceable, but devastating. Amanda's plea deal evaporated overnight. Instead of 18 months, she was now looking at 10 to 15 years in federal prison. But that wasn't enough. Step 3 was personal. I waited until the week before Amanda's new trial date, then made a call to Patricia Bailey. Mrs. Bailey, this is Harry. I think we should talk. I have nothing to say to you, she said, but I could hear the exhaustion in her voice. The past year had broken her. It's about Amanda's defense fund. I have information that could help her case. That got her attention. We agreed to meet at a coffee shop downtown Neutral Territory. Patricia looked like she'd aged a decade. Her perfectly styled hair was gray at the roots, her expensive clothes were wrinkled, and she had the hollow-eyed look of someone who hadn't slept well in months. What? Information? She asked without preamble. I slid a folder across the table. Bank records showing that Amanda had been planning this for over a year. She'd been moving money out of our joint accounts, setting up secret credit cards, even forging my signature on loan applications. Patricia opened the folder, her face growing paler with each page. Where did you get this? Does it matter? The point is, Amanda didn't just make a mistake or get swept up in Jake's schemes. She was planning to destroy me financially and take the kids. The counterfeiting thing was just the tip of the iceberg. Why are you showing me this? I leaned back in my chair, studying this woman who'd spent 15 years treating me like dirt. Because I want you to understand something, Mrs. Bailey. Your daughter didn't just betray me, she betrayed you too. That money she stole from our safe, she was planning to use it to disappear with Jake and leave you holding the bag for her legal fees. Patricia's hands were shaking as she closed the folder. You're lying. Check the dates on those bank statements. Amanda started moving money the day after Jake's first wellness retreat in Miami. She's been playing all of us. I stood up to leave, then paused. Oh, and Mrs. Bailey? That expensive lawyer you hired for Amanda? Jake recommended him. You might want to ask yourself why a money launderer would recommend a specific defense attorney. I left her sitting there, staring at the folder like it contained her death sentence. The final step was the most satisfying. Amanda's trial was a media circus. The story had everything: wealthy socialites, federal crimes, family betrayal, and a con man who'd bilked retirees out of their life savings. I made sure to be in the courtroom every day, sitting in the front row with Tyler and Jenny beside me. Amanda looked terrible. The year of stress, drinking, and legal troubles had taken their toll. She'd lost weight, her skin was sallow, and her hair was limp and lifeless. But it was the look in her eyes that satisfied me the most. The dawning realization that she was completely, utterly alone. Her parents weren't there. Her lawyer was a court-appointed public defender after the expensive one had mysteriously withdrawn from the case. Michelle had moved to California to escape the scandal. Even Jake had cut a deal with prosecutors and was testifying against her. When the verdict came back guilty on all counts, Amanda collapsed. As the bailiff led her away in handcuffs, she looked at me one last time. I saw recognition in her eyes, the understanding that this wasn't just bad luck or poor choices catching up with her. This was justice, carefully planned and perfectly executed. Outside the courthouse, reporters tried to interview me. I gave them exactly what they wanted. I'm just glad my children and I can finally move on with our lives, I said. Tyler and Jenny flanked beside me. Amanda made her choices, and now she has to live with the consequences. We wish her well, but our focus is on building a positive future together. The perfect grieving husband, protecting his children from their mother's crimes. That night, after the kids were asleep, I sat in my office with a glass of bourbon and the newspaper coverage of the trial. Amanda would serve 12 years in federal prison. Her parents had lost their house and their social standing. Jake was in protective custody, having made so many enemies that general population would be a death sentence. My phone rang. Michelle, calling from California. Harry, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I had to call. What you did to Amanda, it was brilliant. I don't know what you mean. Come on, the anonymous tip that destroyed her plea deal? The evidence that got her parents' lawyer to drop the case. You orchestrated all of it. I took a sip of bourbon, saying nothing. She deserved it, Michelle continued. What she was planning to do to you, to the kids. I heard some of those phone calls, Harry. She was going to destroy your career, take the children, and disappear with Jake. You just beat her to it. Amanda destroyed herself, Michelle. I just made sure the truth came out. Well, for what it's worth, I think Tyler and Jenny are lucky to have you. Amanda never deserved them. After she hung up, I walked upstairs to check on the kids. Tyler was reading under his covers with a flashlight, and Jenny was sleeping peacefully, surrounded by stuffed animals. These were my children, safe and happy and free from the chaos Amanda had brought into their lives. Whatever I'd done to ensure that safety, it had been worth it. The next morning brought news that made everything perfect. David called while I was making breakfast. Harry, you're not going to believe this. Amanda's trying to appeal her sentence, claiming she was coerced and manipulated by Jake. But here's the beautiful part. The prosecution has evidence that she was actually the mastermind behind several of the cons. Jake was just the front man. I almost laughed. So what does that mean? It means her appeal is going nowhere and they might actually add more charges. She could be looking at 20 years now. 20 years. Tyler would be 34 when Amanda got out. Jenny would be 29. They'd be adults with lives and families of their own, completely free from her influence. There's something else, David continued. The IRS is going after her parents for tax evasion related to the money they gave Amanda. Apparently, those gifts were actually structured to avoid estate taxes. They could lose everything. Perfect, absolutely perfect. I hung up and turned to find Tyler standing in the kitchen doorway, still in his pajamas. Good news, Dad? Very good news. Your mother's appeal was denied, and we're officially free to start our new life. He grinned, the first, genuinely happy smile I'd seen from him in over a year. So we can move to North Carolina like you talked about? We can do whatever we want, son. The world is wide open. Jenny bounced into the kitchen, her hair sticking up in all directions. Are we having pancakes? We're having whatever you want, sweetheart. Today is a celebration. As I mixed pancake batter and listened to my children plan their day, I reflected on the past year. Amanda had tried to destroy our family for a fantasy, and instead, she'd given me everything I'd ever wanted. Full custody of my children, a successful career, and the satisfaction of seeing justice served. The counterfeits had been just the beginning. Everything that followed, the investigation, the evidence, the perfect timing of revelations, had been carefully orchestrated to ensure that Amanda faced the full consequences of her choices. She'd wanted excitement, danger, and easy money. Instead, she got 20 years in federal prison and the knowledge that she'd lost everything that mattered for a con man who'd sold her out the moment it benefited him. Tyler was right. She needed to understand what she'd done to us. Now she had 12 years to think about it. I flipped pancakes and smiled, thinking about our new house in North Carolina, the kids' new schools, and the life we were going to build together. A life free from Amanda's chaos and selfishness. A life where actions had consequences, and justice was served with a side of perfectly carbonated revenge.